advocacy effort of Right to Play, Lego Foundation, UNESCO, Plan International, petition that there's a need to set a day aside globally to celebrate the importance of play in the life of the child. Why? Because play is seen as a fundamental right of every child.
Thank you.
And two, it provides opportunity for the holistic development of a child, including their learning, their well-being, and their development. So it is important this day is set aside. Again, it is also a day that is set aside to ensure that government, schools, parents are really around to provide opportunity for children, more time, more space for them to play. Because when they play, they learn a lot of skills from it, and that helps them to develop into responsible adults.
Right.
Thank you.
Let me come to Tony, Mr. Dogbe. Mr. Dogbe, what does it mean to say a certain play or a certain learning is play-based?
Yeah, when we say it's play-based,
yes,
it's not just free play that doesn't have purpose.
Okay.
Okay. It has a purpose and is designed to be able to allow children to learn through play.
Yes.
Children at this early age, you watch children outside or what they are doing, they're always finding creative ways of playing and engaging each other.
How is it that our parents don't see that? They think we're always up to mischief.
This is why this day is very important. This 11th of June is important.
Even as old as I am, when I play, my mom gets angry.
You know, because there was this attitude that play is just for fun. Okay, that children, there are things they should be doing to help their home rather than just playing. Okay, so that, like you said, when you were playing Chaskele and all that, there were things you were learning.
Sure.
Okay, but adults don't see it that way.
Okay.
Okay, so play-based learning is where it's structured. Okay, it's purposeful.
Okay.
The teacher creates opportunities and sets the classroom in such a way that children are moving. You know, children have short-term, what they call it, short attention span. Okay, so if you just get them to sit there and listening to you, they switch off. Even adults switch off after 20 minutes.
Okay.
How much more children?
Yeah.
So play-based learning is purposely done so that children can move around various centers, okay, or can be doing things together, okay, solving puzzles together with others. Through that, they are learning cooperation.
Right.
They are communicating.
Right.
Okay. So it's a play-based learning. That's why it's called play-based learning. Okay.
Right. Let me come to Mubarak. And interesting, but I've always wondered why anybody anywhere will consider play a fundamental right of a child. But that's not my question, really. My question is, can you give us some examples of play-based learning in action, really?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, sir.
Darryl. I think play-based learning happens in so many ways. And for me, I want to, take you back into the child's world for you to appreciate it better.
I hope you're not going to remind me of anything in my childhood.
Oh, I'd like to. I'm sure you will relate. It's really
therapy, you have to
yes. Imagine seeing children or kids playing with bottle tops.
Yes,
stools
counters.
Or things, or counters. Those days we used to call them counters.
This man.
In that kind of activity,
yes,
children are learning, but they don't realize they are learning. They see it as just play. So you would have realized that they would be doing sorting, they will be doing, shape matching. Okay. They will be doing even sizes. Right. Because if it is sticks, children will be able to match which one is bigger than the other in so many ways. Again, even within the household, with the simple household activities we do.
Yeah.
Sometimes you are cooking, your wife will be cooking, and then the child will be in the kitchen. It's just about telling the child, okay, help me with some of the cooking utensils. Yes. The child is able to learn some of these things. Right. So it's not quite very cumbersome when we talk of play. Even within the household level, we engage in play unknowingly. And communication-wise, sometimes just having that meaningful engagement with the child through storytelling before bed. You tell the story, tell the child a lot of stories. The child is able to communicate well. The child is able to, relate to the natural environment.
Yes.
And sometimes even color matching and shape matching in the room. The child will tell you, Daddy, this is a pen, this color blue. Okay. Then you also try to point out or show the child which color are you talking about and how, you know, the simple household methods can help. So I think we do play every day, and I'm sure you also do that with your children. You wouldn't know you are just playing.
Okay.
Yes, but that transforms or that transposes to learning at the end of the day.
I see. I see Kwabena raising your hand. You want to add some more to that?
Just to add that for us to term play as a play base and using the word purposeful means that it is followed by question.
Right.
You ask question for the child who is engaged in the activity to tell you what he or she is doing and how that support the child's learning. For example, let's go to the KG. The child is building a house using the building blocks. And you go there, oh, what are you doing? I'm building a house. Well, this house you are building, how will you get into that house? You are reminding the child that the child have not created space for entrance. And so the child will open up the structure and allow space for you to enter.
Right.
Okay, how many people would this house accommodate? Oh, 2, 3. The child is learning the numeracy skills, learning the literacy skills, and these are foundational, and that support. Just also add that play is not limited to only the early years, the kindergarten. We use play even up to university to build concept to help us learn. For example, if we use group work, we need to understand why we are using group work, because it supports us with critical thinking, problem solving, collaborative, and we help us in making sure that we are resolving or solving, having solutions to our problems.
Thank you. And now I'll come to my earlier question, but before that, in my introduction, I mentioned that observing the International Day of Play provides an opportunity for government, educators, parents, and communities to reflect on how play contributes to creativity, problem solving, social interaction, emotional resilience, and lifelong learning outcomes. Now, the United Nations in 2024 agreed that play-based learning is the right of a child. Explain to me, why is play-based learning important and what impact does it have on children?
No, like you said, play, I mean, just imagine what the children do. Okay, if you leave children on their own, what do?
They play.
They play. So why do we deny them of that right? A child is not supposed to be working. The child can help you in your kitchen, go bring me this, go bring me that, okay, or bring me, they can help.
Yes.
But they should not be subjected to working and also basically for a child, it should be play and learning, okay? And so if you combine the two, okay, in the school, then you are getting the child to naturally be him or herself.
Wow.
Okay, because children naturally explore. Children naturally ask questions. Daddy, why is this so? Why is that this? Okay.
Yes.
And then we shut them down.
Oh, you're worrying me. You're worrying me.
You ask too many questions. I hear this every time from parents and adults. Okay, so we have to create that with intentionally so that and make time, because the child is exploring. Okay, so through play they explore. Okay, they communicate. Okay, they learn from each other.
Sure.
Okay, and so we have to be deliberate about it. Like you said, also they are learning social skills.
Sure.
Okay, when you see them playing, sometimes they'll fight a little, then they'll patch up.
Sure.
Okay, they'll make up, then they'll go back to each other.
Yeah.
You know, so they are learning how to cooperate and build social skills and interact. Okay, and forget pain and so on.
Right.
Okay,
right.
So we adults have to make room for children. We shouldn't deny them that right to play. What we should do is, in that formative stages, they are learning.
Right.
Let's combine the two.
Wow.
That's why we call it play-based learning.
Okay, right. Thank you very much. I see Kwabena again signaling that he wants to come in. But Kwabena, please add this to your contribution. My question here is, how does play contribute to children's cognitive, social, emotional, and physical development?
So you ask why the day is set aside by the United Nations.
Sure, absolutely.
So I will give you 3 reasons. 1, for education purpose.
Okay.
2, for development.
Okay.
And 3, their well-being.
Oh, wow.
So if we have children engage in play, which is purposeful, with the teacher leading, facilitating the process. Then as they play, they are learning some skills, which include the cognitive.
Okay.
So you just saw that we are doing Tumatu, for example.
Yeah, like what I could see. I mean,
Yes, Tumatu. So Bantumaka Kulo or Tumatu. So as they move,
you see, I told you don't
they
take
are
me back.
moving. They are moving the stones or the pebbles. It moves. So if you are not fast to move it, then you gather at a point, and then
pile it up on you.
you lose a point on that. You see, so. Through this, they are really developing themselves.
Sure.
Because they are singing along, they are moving the object, and they are doing all kind of activities that support their holistic development.
Why is it that any song that is child-based, especially to facilitate child play, always has a story that would focus the child's mind somewhere?
Good. Because children love to play. So we use things that will help the child to remember whatever he or she is doing. And so the song comes in, the games comes in, the storytelling comes in, and then you see, so you are helping the child to reorganize his thoughts, think about what is happening, and be able to communicate. So as they communicate, they are building their cognitive skills.
Thank you. Let me bring on Mubarak. I'm getting excited about the whole thing already. Right. Tell me, what would you say parents who feel they don't have enough time or resource, what would you say to those, any parent who say, I don't have enough time, I'm going to hustle. If you want to play, why do you worry me?
Yeah. So I think generally, I would describe it as a resource myth, which is ingrained in our culture, especially in Ghana and most rural communities, where,
parents shouldn't get involved in children play.
It's a resource myth. So your resource could be money or time.
Okay.
So parents would say that they don't have time and that they don't even recognize the importance of play. Okay. And I always say that you don't need money to buy expensive toys, to play with your child, because there are basic household materials that you can use to engage in play. And even if you don't have these materials, just a simple story, by just telling a child a story is a way of play. So I would say that if every parent could even dedicate 10 to 15 minutes daily to spend some quality time with a child, it's not just about the time, but also the quality of the time, the quality of the engagement. That would, leave a lasting, impression on the child that, yes, I'm really learning in a different way. And so we don't need so much money. A lot of parents will say, I need to buy toys and all that. No. Even with the household materials we have, like cooking utensils, even your clothes, even the normal stories and all that we can use.
You remind me of something about my life. I rode a bicycle for 3 years before I actually rode a physical bicycle.
Wow.
Yes.
And how did that happen?
Exactly. I learned my curiosity. So my neighbor bought a bicycle for his son. But because their house is fenced, you don't get to go in there. So you can only watch him ride over the fence. And so one day I went to my mom and I said, I also want to ride the bicycle. He brought a chair and said, sit on, like the way he sits on his bike, and let me see you ride and see if I buy your bike, you can ride it.
Yes.
And so for 3 years, every day I'll be sitting on the chair, I'll be doing this.
Yes. And that drums home the point that we should try to even improvise. We can improvise.
Yeah, I mean,
so your mom was able to...
A genius.
A genius. And this is what we should adapt as parents.
Yes.
Again, naturally, many children in Ghana used to make their own toys.
Right.
I'm sure you remember
using
milk tins.
I built my milk tin and helicopter by myself.
Exactly. You see, now all those creativities are going. Okay, because we are replacing them with more expensive things rather than giving that space to the child to be able to create some of these things. And this is why, again, in school, the idea is to bring some of these things and allow the children to be able to create and imaginations. Okay, so in KG classrooms now, there are these things we call construction blocks, which are like wooden blocks, and these children are then using it to create all kinds of imaginary things for themselves. And that's how creativity begins to develop.
Now let's look at, I mentioned in my intro how Ghana, since adopting or signing to the right to play, has been doing stuff. let me bring on Kwabna on this one, and let's see what Ghana has done so far, or what Ghana has contributed in advancing the right to play.
Thank you very much. So you see, play is very important, and so government, like I mentioned, three things: the impact, education, the child development, and well-being. So government of Ghana, since 2007, has mainstreamed kindergarten learning into the formal basic education, which is one step. The second is that they integrate play-based learning into curriculum materials for KG and even primary and the GHS and secondary school.
Right.
The next thing is that we see that government have also invested in teacher professional development, which is key, because for children to really benefit from play, teachers need to be having the skills. If you don't have the skills, you cannot really support the children. So again, we saw that, we have seen that government have also really invested in partnership. And that is why Right to Play, Sabre, Lively Minds, IPA is really providing strong support to Ministry of Education, Ghana Education Service, Early Childhood units to really support the KG teachers to give them the quality skills when it comes to use of play-based learning, which aligns with a pedagogical approach that KG curriculum is really espousing. Not only KG, but even from primary to the junior high school.
Thank you very much. Let me go to Mubarak. Mubarak, I noted how almost every one of you seem to repeatedly refer to KG. Why is KG so important in play-based learning or child education and child cognitive behavior formulation?
Yeah, so kindergarten, forms the early years of the child.
Right.
And then the research has proven that even from conception to 8 years, it's a critical period for child development.
Right.
And so it is, a window of opportunity for all parents, caregivers, and even stakeholders to invest, especially at that critical stage. Because if you don't get the foundation right, there is no way the child would be able to, achieve or reach his or her full potential. And so it is very deliberate that a lot of investment is now going into the kindergarten subsector. And I will say that over the years, government has really made significant strides in ensuring that kindergarten education is improved. And, I will say Ghana is a leader as far as early childhood is concerned.
Oh, I see.
We're the first country within the
Africa?
Yes, within the sub-region to develop the early childhood development, early childhood education development policy. And in the policy, you have the family and community engagement strategy. It finds expression in Ghana's ECD policy. And that emphasizes more on how parents could come in to support in children's learning, because we know that parents are the sleeping giants as far as early childhood is concerned. And so they have that critical role to play. It's not just the work of the government.
Thank you very much. You're watching National Discourse. My guest in the studio this afternoon has been Mr. Tony Dogbe, Executive Director, Sabre Education, Mr. Kwabna Gao, Education Specialist, Right to Play Ghana, and Mr. Mubarak Abdul Rahman, a National Government and Stakeholder Engagement Manager. You have been listening to these gentlemen, and they're so much knowledgeable in child formation and learning, as well as its impact on early childhood behavior formation. Now, you can also join the conversation on WhatsApp by the number 02777 68864. 02777 68864. Please make it very brief. By all means, we'll read your message if you share, and we'll engage your thought. I'll get my guest to respond to any questions you put forward. Let me come to Mr. Dogbe. Quickly, Mr. Dogbe, in the classroom, how does activity-based learning appear? And do you need specialist training as a teacher to especially lead in that kind of activity-based learning?
Yeah, government realized that when it introduced the kindergarten, mainstream kindergarten to the system, most of the teachers initially were even community-based people who were brought in to support and keep the children, So the first thing government tried doing was training the teachers.
Right.
But then when it introduced the play-based curriculum, it realized that many teachers, trained teachers, know the concept of play-based.
Okay.
But the how, the hands-on.
There's the knowledge, but then the implementation is where the issue is. Oh, your microphone just fell off. Okay. You can put it here, it would be fine.
So the government realized that it's not enough to just people know it in theory, but in practice.
Right.
So in 2019, government, when it introduced this curriculum, even trained all the kindergarten teachers across the country. Okay. Then COVID came.
Wow.
Okay. And then schools were closed for 10 months.
Right.
Okay. So teachers again lost some of this.
Yeah.
Even the little they learned, they couldn't practicalize it.
Okay.
So this is where government partnered our organizations to try and deepen this training, so that when you enter into a kindergarten classroom where a teacher has been trained, you see the difference. Okay, you see that the children's work, artwork and so on are on the wall. Okay, the teacher, it's like print rich. The teacher herself or himself has developed materials. Okay, so it's very welcoming to the child.
Sure.
Okay, and makes the it stimulates the child's learning. In fact, one parent in Asin South said, I mean, they had problems trying to get their son to school, kindergarten. They are just now gone to school.
Okay.
Then after one term, he was the first to wake up and was knocking on that he wants to go to school. So after that, I said, no, he has to go and check what has changed.
What exactly they are doing in that
said,
school.
Exactly. And when he went, he said he himself was shocked because the classroom was so rich, was so stimulating, you know, and the children were happy because the teacher has been trained in also positive behavior management.
Okay.
So instead of shouting at the children, keep quiet, you know, they have strategies to manage their behavior. You know, so the child looks forward to coming to school. He's no longer afraid of the teacher.
Right.
Okay, the teacher is like a friend. And this is how it should be, both at home and in school. You know, sometimes I say we men in the home, we are like kakai. Hi, stop that. Hey, you know, I'll beat you. You know, so the children don't come close to us.
No.
You know, so we need to create that positive learning environment where children want to be around us, want to be around the teacher, want to be in the classroom.
Right. Let me come to Kabla. Do you know I have not actually noticed that you are wearing a right to play t-shirt? No, I've only just realized it. I've not seen it all this while. Now, the way we build our communities, we build them such that it's difficult to even find a park. We build our houses so it becomes so difficult that there's even no room for our children to play. What should be the role of MMDCEs, local communities, the private sector in creating this environment, as well as government, to help create a proper environment for our children to play freely?
I will refer you back to Sir Gordon Gogisberg's 16 Principles of Education.
16 Principles of Education.
That's outlined the need for every school to create space for children to play. And so if you don't have a place for a field, your school is not open. Yes, you are not given the opportunity to operate as a school. But like you mentioned, these days, even there's little space that the children will play.
We put containers there.
We will try to put buildings. So we are denying children of their rights, the important value of play. Because when they play, they get to strengthen their physical being. Because within the education sector, we have the 4 domains, which each of them work in tandem with each other. So we have the physical, we have the cognitive, we have the psychosocial, and then we have the affective. So all of these things have a role to play. So if you don't create space for children to really exercise themselves or engage in play, then you are denying them something. So my advice is that the MDDAs should provide space for creation of recreational grounds.
What about private sector?
Yes, and then the private sector should also make room, because if you go elsewhere outside the country, you will see that there's a lot of space that will be created with all the facilities, all the equipment that the child would need to play, even adults, not only children,
Yes,
even
yes.
adults, they can exercise and they can do a lot of physical activities to ensure that they are staying healthy.
Sure.
Because a healthy man lives in a healthy body, and for us to get strong workforce, we need to ensure that we invest in creating space for
Definitely.
physical activities.
Thank you very much.
That
Mr. Dogbe, you want to come in?
Can I chip in something?
Sure, definitely.
Because like you said, I mean, I think you said it. It's not everything that is money. Okay.
No, that's Mubarak. Don't credit to
Mubarak
me.
said it. Everything is okay. Just to chip in an example, the city of Addis
Yes.
is doing something very unique.
Yes.
Okay. What they have decided is that they want to that city to be the best place to bring up children. Wow. The mayor, that is her this now, and she's getting a lot of support.
Wonderful.
And so they are creating a lot of playgrounds. But for me, what I found very interesting was that I think once a month they close the roads in their neighborhoods.
Neighborhoods?
Yes, on Sundays
To allow for play.
to allow for play.
I'll relocate.
because built environment.
Yes.
Okay.
Built
But so they allow the streets blocked so that children, parents can come out and play with their children. So as we are waiting to build more playgrounds and so on, we could also adopt some of these things. Okay. But then the point also you made was communities. Now there's communities earmark and sell every piece of land.
But
Okay.
you know, there's one thing we have not also mentioned here. And it's all well and good to get the communities to create spaces. But you find that sometimes in our classrooms, we put chairs everywhere.
Exactly.
How different should a play-based learning classroom be from the traditional classroom?
Good question.
So I think
Kabra want to take that.
So to really create space for the play-based learning in the classroom, one, the teacher need to look at the sitting arrangement of the class and engineer the arrangement in the classroom.
So be creative
Yeah,
in the
be
sitting
creative
arrangement.
in sitting arrangement to create space for yourself.
Right.
Where you try this and doesn't work, the little open space in the school compound, you bring the children out, you introduce them to the activities, you go back to the classroom to wrap up on it, and then they get opportunity to do one or two exercises on it to support the play-based learning.
Sure.
So that is what can happen in the classroom. So the sitting arrangement is one way to go. The second is that the teacher needs to adapt the activity to ensure that it's not only concentrated in the classroom, but can bring it outside the classroom. Because now we define the learning as not classroom, but we say learning environment.
Please get us water.
We say learning environment,
Yes.
not classroom. We say learning environment. So whichever space you have that will support learning, you make use of that.
Thank you.
So creativity is important.
Mubarak, you wanted to add something to that?
So I think resource constraints have been a problem in this country, and we all know that sometimes providing this monitored access has been a challenge for government. And I would say that the Ghana Education Service and the ministry have made a lot of effort by bringing on board some of the partners to adopt certain approaches. So, for instance, in most of the rural communities, where there are no decks and all that, we use what we call the playstations, where you have a mat with children seated, where there are no monodexes, then the parents seated there to also aid in learning. One thing I also want to add is that the communities play a critical role in every child's education.
Okay.
And so there's a need for us to bring on board parents, caregivers, and all manner of persons within the community setting to play a key role. The family and community engagement emphasizes that. Right. And now we have, parents coming in to school. We call it the GS parenting program, which is currently happening within the country. So I would say that GES and the ministry have really made some deliberate efforts to improve quality.
Yes.
I mean, taking the situation as it is now, teachers have to be creative and reimagine the classroom.
Sure.
But more and more also, I've seen government making inroads in getting these round desks, tables, so that children and the chairs are just appropriate to their age, so that they can sit around as a group and learn together. Okay, and one of the things that Sabre started doing when government decided to mainstream kindergarten into basic education was to build model KG classrooms. Okay, to give a sense of how spacious such classrooms should be, so that the children can run around, walk around, and play. And so, at the moment, together with the Ministry of Education, Sabre and we call them FPMU, Funds Management Procurement Unit of the ministry, are trying to get an architect, a firm, to design a standard KG block, so that there'll be age-appropriate furniture, there'll be toilets, there'll be a place where the children can sit and eat, so that right from the beginning, we are teaching our children certain social skills like hygiene and so on. So this is how it should be.
All right. Okay.
To add that it is not the sole responsibility of government, as you put it.
No. I haven't held government.
No, I mean, in with regards to KG, even we as parents, learning is continue, and it does not start and end in the classroom. Okay, the child spends most of his time also with the parents at home, and so there is a need for parents and caregivers to also make that deliberate effort. In as much as teachers are also trying, and then more partners are coming on board to support. We parents also have a responsibility to ensure that our children learn in order to, reach their full
Let me come to Kwabena. Kwabena, in your experience, what will you describe as the most or the one singular challenge schools face in incorporating the play-based learning into some of their school activities?
So one is large class size. So you go to a school, one classroom, you can have 60, 80 learners in a classroom. Like you mentioned, all the space that is available in the classroom is filled,
packed
with the chairs, tables. And teachers don't even have space to move around, let alone to support. Because when you're talking about play-based learning, the teacher has a role to play when you are doing play-based learning. One, the teacher supports. The teacher joins in the activity, and the teacher asks questions. So going back to the standard-based curriculum that talk about means of supporting learners, we have differentiation by task, by outcome, and by support. Then we have scaffolding activities. So one challenge is the class size, which is a problem. However, the use of play-based learning is trying to solve some of these problems. Because if you are in a classroom and then you want the children to be engaged, you introduce what you call group activities. If there are 80 and then you put them into maybe 5 in a group, you are getting 16 groups, for example, to make sure that you are managing them. And within that group, you are blending the learners, the high, the average, and then the low ones, all they are in one group, and they begin to learn from each other, they support each other. So that is one way to go in resolving the large class size. The second one is that, like we are talking about more classrooms. If government can provide more classrooms, then to ensure that we have these children put into manageable size, I think maximum is 40 learners per class. And so that's the maximum. And so if we can do that, that will also be another challenge. The next thing they are talking about is that sometimes teachers complain that they can't find appropriate games for the lesson that they are teaching. And for us now, thankful to AI and then Google, when you key in, I want to teach algebra for primary 6, age 12 to 13, in so-and-so community. I need materials that will help me. I need the games that will be appropriate. All the information will come.
You get all of that.
You look at it.
So if you know what you're looking for, you
so
get
you'll be
exactly
precise in giving the information, then you get it. And then you use it to make sure that we are contextualizing whatever we are getting from online to the situation on the ground.
Thank you very much. Let me bring on Mr. Dogbe. As Ghana celebrates the International Day of Play, what actions are needed from government, educators, parents, society to make play an integral part of every child's learning journey?
I think to build on what Kwabena has said, one thing that governments can begin to address, apart from the issues of infrastructure, which again communities must come in and help, parents must come in and help. It's the issue of the number of teachers or adults to the children in the classroom. Okay. Because again, it's a bit of a challenge for parents. This play-based means basically disrupting the way it would have been when children are just sitting quietly in front of the teacher. Okay, so to do it well and purposefully, sometimes it needs two adults. Right. Okay, so again, communities can help by volunteering. Okay, to go and support the teacher, and that's one part of the way Lively Mind is supporting government to be able to address that. That's very critical. But going forward, that's one way we should do. But I think it's also a mindset change. Okay. Okay. Like you said in the beginning of your introduction, when children are playing, we think no, they can't. No, they shouldn't be playing. It's like I remember asking one woman in the village, what are the 6 things that children need? Okay, nothing, play didn't come in. Okay, so I said, oh, what about children playing? He said, what? When there's work to do, why should a child be playing? Okay. So we need that mindset change that play is so important for children. Okay.
You take your child to school and you come to the school compound and you find them doing this. Do you call this learning?
Exactly.
No, is this learning?
Exactly, and we have that.
Now, how do you describe this as learning?
We have that. So again, this is the reason why we are here today, as a start of this conversation, so that communities and parents can understand that it's just play as a form of learning is so natural to children.
Wonderful.
So for me, this would be the two that I would. There's more, but then I'll end with these two.
Comrade Mubarak, let me put you on the spot. We have less than 5 minutes to go. Let me put the two of you on the spot. Tell me what your most favorite play learning activity is. He said ha.
So we have several of them.
Okay.
We have several of them. We can talk about the local game. If you use AMPE, for example, it helps us to talk about numeracy skills. If you go the Tumatu, you can use that one to teach literacy skills because you write the either 3-letter word or 4-letter word or a sound on the square. So as you jump onto the spots, whatever you see there, you pick it and then you say it out with the sound correctly or the word correctly. And then when that is done, the group come together, use those words to form or build sentence.
Thank you.
Sentence building, and that help them with their literacy skills.
Mubarak.
Yeah, so for me, I like building blocks. Because
why didn't you become amazing?
Yeah, growing up, I wanted to be a civil engineer, so I had interest in building, and it's really, really good. You have children with these building blocks. It makes them very creative. It also encourages cooperation, turn taking, and all that. So I think for me, that is the best game, and I still enjoy doing that.
All right, thank you very much. Unfortunately, as interesting and sweet as the conversation is getting, time has already left us. And so we will draw today's conversation to a close. But let me give Mr. Dogbe just about a minute to, in one sentence, tell us why play matters. And so parents shouldn't interfere, but should encourage.
Play gives children joy.
Wonderful.
As they are playing, they are learning. Children need to be happy.
Thank you.
Okay, so play is good for happy children.
Thank you. My next show presenter is already on standby and winking at me, so we have to end it here. This is where the National Discourse comes to a close. Thank you very much.